Potty
Hello,
pod.
the Potty Pod number 2. And here we are because September was a fucking year,
Yeah, Jamie is
guys.
drinking wine and I am drinking tea. But it's
Listen,
also noon for me, so
yeah, it's 3 o'clock here, so we're pretty close to
three
wine
o'clock on
drinking
a
time.
weekend day.
Right.
Whatever.
It's like late afternoon day drinking.
Yeah, and it's a rosé. It's technically still summer, although I know you do not
No,
like
it's
that
not.
vibe.
It
It
is not
is,
summer.
well, not technically, sorry. Yes, you're correct. Technically, it is not still summer, but I
It's
mean, it's
82 degrees here today, so
right.
it's
And we're getting a second heat wave in San Francisco. So
I still have rosé in my fridge, so rosé until it's gone. That's how I'm
basically, I mean, in California, we keep rosé in our fridge all year round.
It's because you have the same temperature all year round, basically, right?
False in San Francisco, but it still
Really?
somehow feels, yeah.
What do you like? What's the lowest you get in San Francisco?
Oh, it'll get like, I mean, at night, like 40s, low 50s, like it gets
Oh,
cold.
really?
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ben was
And
trying
it's
to tell me that
often,
it never changes temperature in California.
no, I mean, I think he's thinking of LA.
Is that
Like
true
when
in
LA
LA?
gets a lot of rain, it's like a weird, yeah. It's pretty
Is
true.
it
And because even in the winter, like when I went to school there, even in the winter, it would be overcast, but it's super muggy because the temperature never drops. It's disgusting.
that
It's
is
the
really gross. That
worst.
is not
It's
my jam.
worst kind of
That's like
temperature.
his selling point on LA. He's like, it's just like 75 and sunny constantly.
Move
If,
her
and the other
elsewhere.
thing is if I was picking a West Coast city, no offense, I would probably be picking Portland or Seattle
Totally.
over anything in California. But then Carly, our friend, told us that like the seasonal depression in the like Pacific Northwest is real because there's so much rain. And it's
See,
just
and
like
I always say that because San Francisco, I mean, relative to like a Portland or a Seattle, it definitely does not get as much like it's like spit rain. Like you go to Portland and it's just kind of misting all the time, like spitting on you.
so are you just like
Um,
wearing a raincoat all the time?
well, yeah, I mean, like a layer. I don't know. I mean, I've obviously never lived there, but I didn't. I mean, San Francisco gets it's overcast a lot of the time. Like we get a ton of fog. Like we're right by the coast, so we get a lot of those coastal climates. But we do probably get more sun. Like we probably do. So I haven't ever had like a seasonal depression episode, except when the fucking Mars Day happened a couple weeks ago. Then I definitely
Yeah. I still can't believe that was real life.
yeah,
Like
that I woke up and I was like, okay, so if my circadian rhythm, like my body clock is fucked, then I'm depressed 100%. But if
right.
there's some sort of like if it's overcast and you can see that the sun is out and it's like a normal light,
Day, right.
yeah, like you can tell. But no, not with Mars Day.
No, that was very scary. I'm glad you guys are like back to normal air quality-ish. Like you
Yes,
can
no,
be
we are.
outside.
Although with a heat wave coming, it's again, you get a
Scary.
little bit nervous. Yeah. You get nervous because you're like, oh,
Are the
what this
fires under control?
I think so. I actually haven't checked in on them in a while. Yes, like I mean, we haven't gotten smoke in like a good week, which
Good.
is something. So
Freaks me out. That's like the one natural disaster that has like never really I've never experienced. Like I've been in areas with hurricanes, I've been in areas with tornadoes, like no fires.
yeah, it's yeah, and I mean, it's also modern. I mean, it's like I
A
can't.
newer problem.
Yeah, it's a totally new. I
Yeah.
mean, wildfires always happened, but the ability to contain them was so different. But like San Francisco,
Right.
like I mean, we were 2.5 hours from that fire that we were getting all the smoke from, where literally ash was raining down on my car. Like it, so we were really
That is
far away.
wild.
So it's yeah. So like I've never. I mean, it's a very modern phenomenon, and I didn't grow up like smelling smoke in the air. Like I learned to smell smoke in the air when I lived in Montana for a couple of summers because there were fires sometimes
Right.
there, and so like it's a very weird, like I'm not even in the position of having to like flee a fire situation, but like we
Still.
still, yeah, it's a very omnipresent fucking natural disaster, I guess is the word.
I feel like that's actually, even though this is a little out of order, I feel like it's like a good segue into our try saying that out loud moment of
Well, yeah,
yours.
and I don't know why I'm wearing orange because I didn't think about
Yeah,
it.
you can't see. Lo is in an orange shirt.
I'm like in a bright orange shirt, which literally was what the world looked like 2 Wednesdays ago.
No blazer, but wearing a pearl descent collar in honor of RBG.
always representing that bad bitch.
Love
man.
her. Yeah.
In-state, man. That's pretty cool that she got, that she was
in-state.
resting in-state. Like that
The
is,
video.
I don't know if people understand like how big of a deal
No.
that is. I didn't really
No.
either until I like kind of researched it.
Read about it. The video that you posted about, or of her trainer doing push-ups in front of her casket.
Sobbing.
Man. It was rough.
And then someone's comment was like, that is such a special bond because he literally probably saw her more than members of her family.
Anyone, right?
And I'm just like, oh my God. When I saw him go down for the push-up, I was half expecting him to not be able to get up and like have a breakdown. And he didn't. And I was kind of hoping that he would like have like which is so fucked up of me. I'm like, just have an emotional release because I want to release with you type of mentality.
And Ben, my husband was talking to us and he was like, or talking to me, and he said, how many Supreme Court justice trainers do you know? Like the fact that he's like such a known person is so wild.
Right. Oh,
he was such a huge part of her life.
I definitely had like a couple of weeks where my mood was very somber. Like it was a very dark mental state. And it was because of the fires. I mean, like existing in California, I was so far away from them, but I was still not the benefits, not reaping the benefits, but I was seeing the effects of them from so far away. And we're in this climate, for lack of a better word now, where our president literally is denying science. And to exist in this space of like the coast is literally on fire, and being in this world where that the current administration is doing nothing about it. And
telling you to sweep the forest floors.
Right. Or they're like literally enacting legislation that reverses what Obama had been trying to, like it's just.
Right.
So I entered a very dark mental state because it was just like, I want to shake every single person who denies climate change and be like, how
are you watching?
Right. Do you not fucking see people running for their fucking lives? Like 2 years ago in the Paradise, I think it was Paradise fires, they're literally like, we're talking like people literally like cars in the middle of the street that had been trying to escape the fires, like
just burned.
Destroyed. So it was a very dark period, but I think after I kind of came out, then the Mars Day happened, and it was, people should just look up pictures if they haven't seen them. It was, it was like 8 p.m. all day, but it was this orange glow. And actually what was so weird about it is we'd had terrible air quality. And then that day came, and because of the way the light was filtering and the cloud cover, it was actually, the air was the cleanest it had been in weeks.
It was like preventing the ash from coming through.
Preventing the ash and like all that stuff from coming down. But you look outside and you're like, okay, it's the apocalypse.
We're dying.
I'm not fucking going out there. But I actually should have been fucking opening the windows, because like days later it was like ash, like couldn't go, like air quality was terrible. But I was like so upset about these fucking fires. And then I look around my house and I'm like, the privilege that I have of like having a home, like being able to close my fucking windows and not heat, like at least San Francisco is not so hot that you're like dying of heat in your home. Like there are some areas of this there's some areas that literally like it's so hot, if your windows are not open, like are you going to die from heat or are you going to die from smoke? Like what's going to come sooner?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so I can exist, like I'm in my home, and I'm fucking sitting in like a mess of air purifiers that I could like order on Amazon and like make it. So I just was like sitting so deep in my privilege. I was like, okay, like this can mentally, I'm not trying to discount that it was a mental mind fuck in so many ways.
Right, for sure.
But I'm like, okay, out of all the situations, like I need to like not let this get me down, right? Like I need to like vote or do whatever the fuck I can for the people that don't have the privilege that I have. I'm sitting
right. Like your feelings are valid, but like at the same time you acknowledge like how lucky you are in that situation.
100%. Like I'm like not dying of heat, and I have fucking air purifiers, and I don't have to go outside if I don't want to,
Right. Like you don't have to go to work.
Right. Like some people have to go.
Have to leave the house. Right.
Right. So it was a moment for sure.
Yeah. I actually had to think about mine too a little bit, sort of. So we're recording this a few days after the indictment came out against one of the officers involved in Breonna Taylor's murder. And I've been sitting with this for a little bit, and I have like a perspective as a lawyer that's like a little bit different than most. And it's just like by reading the actual laws in Kentucky. And also I did a lot of background research on what the narratives surrounding what happened are versus like what actually happened. There's a ton of narratives around.
Misinformation everywhere.
A lot
no one
of
even
misinformation.
knows. Yeah.
So I'm absolutely devastated about the whole story. It's just like, it's awful. But what is the worst part of it is that it's actually the Kentucky laws that allowed this indictment to happen, or like the way that the indictments happened.
It's the way the grand jury works, right? Like that's kind of unique.
Sort of. So it's part of it is the Kentucky self-defense laws. So when the cops went, the first problem is that they got this warrant in the first place because the warrant was based on horrible misinformation. And had they had the right information, they wouldn't have been able to get this warrant because the warrant was for Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend. Like they're looking for her ex-boyfriend. And I don't remember how long they had been broken up, but they have been broken up for enough time that these narcotics agents should have been able to figure out.
At least a few months, right? Like
at least that they should have been able to figure out that there was no reason that he was going to be at her apartment.
Right.
Like there was no reason. And ultimately he was arrested a few minutes later in a completely separate sting, like the same night. So if they had been
clearly there was like a miscommunication of the fucking police force. It's like if you have a sting operation,
correct.
Like, what's happening?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So the fact that he was able to, that they were able to get this warrant, and no one's talking about this judge that granted this warrant, which is like another big problem. So that's a problem. Number two, you have the cops that show up at the apartment in the middle of the night. Why are you showing up in the middle of the night? Why does this happen? It have to happen at whatever time it was, 2 a.m. Like, why is that necessary? You have most of the neighbors saying that they didn't hear them announce. No one's disputing that they knocked because Breonna's boyfriend said he heard the knocking.
Right.
Only one neighbor heard them say cops. Everyone else was like, we didn't hear anything. And if they're apparently saying it for minutes, like someone is going to hear them say police. Someone is going to hear that.
Right.
So under Kentucky law, her boyfriend has the right. He legally owned a gun.
Right.
He has the right to defend himself on an intruder coming into his house.
Right.
Which is why he's shot. Unfortunately, so do the cops. And like, that's like.
And the cops are saying they knocked, so they're not saying there's no reason why it would be like a fully an intruder because we warned them we were coming. Is that
correct.
What they're saying? Oh.
That's exactly what they're saying. And so the two cops that shot are saying we're protected under self-defense, which when you look at it initially, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, one of the cops was shot by the bullet that he didn't die, but I think he was shot in the shoulder or the leg or something like that.
Yeah, but okay, so then I was listening, sorry to interrupt you, but I was listening to I think the boyfriend's attorney was on some CNN show. And he was saying that they were basically saying that the bullet was tied to the boyfriend's gun because it was a Glock, whatever. It was like some sort of specific gun. And that no other law enforcement officials had that as a carry weapon. But apparently that's not true.
Interesting.
Apparently his attorney is like, no, the fucking police, the cop that did get charged, this is something that blew my fucking mind. The one that did get charged for shooting into the neighbor's apartment or whatever, he fled. And they could not find him for multiple hours. And he's the one apparently that has the gun that matches. And he admits to kind of, if I'm remembering correctly, there were like, I guess like when the guns go off, there are like flashes or something.
Yes,
so he said he was responding to flashes and that's why he was shooting. But then it's like, okay, but her boyfriend only shot one time. So like, who are you firing?
He's responding to his own partner's flashes.
Right, he's responding. Exactly.
Well, and the evidence showed like their apartment was littered with bullets, just littered with bullets. So
And
like
Breonna
there's
got shot
one
6 fucking times. She didn't have a fucking weapon on her. This is where the narrative really got annoying for me. Is I was like, okay, so everyone's talking, like we're talking about focusing on the wrong thing. Like her boyfriend, yes, had the right to shoot. Like maybe shouldn't have, whatever, but he had the right to.
right.
And the
shot once.
just kept shooting, not
Right.
even at him.
Right. And that's the thing
Like,
Ben and
what?
I talked about. It's like, so how bad of a shot are you that like
That
you're
you're shooting
shot in
someone
self
7 times.
Right. That your shot in self-defense is at the person without a weapon, and that the whole apartment is just littered in bullets, that a different person is shot 7 times. Like literally they said like picture frames, the wall, like the whole apartment was just littered
There's
in
no
bullets.
body cam. We have no body. Do we have it?
So that was the big thing that Ben and I talked about when we were talking about this. Cause like the way the laws are written is very ambiguous and like does not give really the grand jury enough necessarily to charge them with murder because of this self-defense. You obviously have the argument of like, how is it self-defense if you're shooting 12 times, but you do have the initial shot? So you like really get into the weeds.
Totally.
But Ben's thing was, it should be illegal for any cop in the United States to not be wearing a body cam, and it should be a felony.
Totally.
And
at least audio.
Right.
Because you can do video.
Honestly, I think video. I mean, like, it just like takes out any question. It just takes out any question.
But in the least, if there are states that are like resistant, at least fucking give me audio in the fucking least.
And then Ben said, and if you don't have your body cam on and someone dies while you're pursuing them, that becomes felony murder. Because felony murder is if someone is killed during the commission of a felony. That's what felony murder is. So Ben was like, it should be felony murder to have someone die while you are trying to pursue them if your body cam is off, because that can clear you 100%. Right. That can clear you 100%. And I was reading about it, and apparently these were undercover narcotics agents. And in that department, they like normally don't wear body cams. I was trying to like figure out why there wasn't a body cam, except I don't know which officer. I don't know all of their names. There is a picture of one of the officers very shortly after, and he has a body cam on him. Like it's like clearly like up here.
Let's also backtrack. We don't have to talk about this for very much longer, but also backtrack to what you said earlier. And you were like, there was another sting operation happening.
Right.
So like, how many like sting operations can we possibly have to try to catch the same person? Like clearly, like there's an issue identifying the person you're going after, and that is extreme negligence on the part of the police force. It's like, let's have some checks and balances in place. Like, my God.
Right.
Like, even if no one had died in this situation, like,
right.
Why are we
like, what are we doing?
Right. Like, that's insane.
Right. So the whole thing basically just was like not only obviously did the police system fail Breonna, like in like the way that this sting operation went down, but like in this specific case, it's the legal system that failed. And it's not necessarily, I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, but it's not necessarily the grand jury or the district attorney in this case that failed her. Like they can only do so much with the laws. And the one cop that was indicted, and to your point, that makes it an interesting point. If the cop that was indicted had the same gun as her boyfriend, and like you can't match the ballistics, like that's a big problem, because the only reason, from what I understand, that he was charged with 3 counts of wanton endangerment is he was blindly shooting into Breonna's apartment. The blinds were down. He was outside and was shooting into like the glass sliding door. So he had no line of sight at all. And it allegedly went through her apartment and into the apartment where there was a couple and a young child, which is where the 3 counts of wanton endangerment come from. However, if one of his bullets had hit Breonna, he would be charged with murder. There is no question. Yeah. Or some version of murder, whether it's manslaughter or negligent homicide.
It just seems negligent to me to like, also like, why are you shooting blindly?
100%. He was fired, and I know like the police department, and I can't remember who else, but like multiple entities have come out and like spoken out against that, saying that was like clearly so against policy. Like there's just no reason for him to have done that.
Like you're shooting into like you know, there's a scene of the crime and like you're shooting
But like you have
into a
no line
neighbor.
of sight.
But okay, also, like, I'm sorry, fuck all the way off with your wanton endangerment of the neighbor's apartment. Like, you
Right.
also were fucking endangering Breonna Taylor, who was innocent in all of this. And
and her boyfriend.
I know, and I keep on coming back to it, and I'm like, like, the women, so many Black women are implicated in these crimes, are incarcerated because they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. That would never fucking happen to a white woman.
Nope.
Never. Be like, oh, your boyfriend was a bad seed, or like whatever, you know, but like, you're fine, whatever.
Well, I also don't really, and I, like, the bullet ended up in the apartment of the neighbor, but like my understanding was that it went through Breonna's apartment to get to the neighbors, is my understanding. That could be wrong.
Like, what's the first apartment?
Right. So I don't understand why
Right.
that he isn't charged with 5 counts of wanton endangerment, because he did endanger the boyfriend and Breonna while it was going through that apartment. Like, I don't get why it matters that like it just landed in the other apartment. So I've been like sitting with that a lot, just because it's like, not only do you have like, just like in general, the police failing Black people, you have like the laws as written, where even if the district attorney wanted to do something like this, from my understanding, seems to be the most he could do. And I was listening to the daily episode, like kind of explaining the legal justification, and the reporter that was talking to the host, Michael Barbaro, was saying, I've spoken with so many legal experts, and they were like, this is exactly what we expected to happen once they determined the ballistics, that the officer that was outside did not kill Breonna Taylor, and that was one of the officers inside. Once they determined that, they were like, this is exactly what we expected to be the case based on the laws in Kentucky. And like that just shouldn't be a thing. Yeah, and like really that's obviously going to disproportionately affect Black people. Like, it just is
100%,
because you have the cops disproportionately arresting and going after Black people. So like that's just going to affect them way more. So I've been sitting with that for a while, and Ben and I had like a very long discussion about it, and it's just fucked. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
And September has been the fucking worst. It really has.
Just a different flavor of fuckery. It was just, you know, this month actually went by really fast for me. I told you that. But yep. I mean, it's equally,
but a different flavor.
Like,
you're right.
Yeah, it's a different flavor of like what, like at every turn, you're like, 2020, what else you got? It's literally just a new episode of Jumanji.
Right, exactly. Like for me, like it was a really bad month medically. I got poison ivy in August, which like I don't even remember if we talked about on the pod. Probably not.
You still had it when we last recorded.
Right. For sure. Jesus. So we were in the mountains in the middle of August, and I somehow contracted poison ivy. We think one of the dogs got it, but I had to go on prednisone, which is like the worst fucking medication that's ever existed. I hate it so much. It makes me feel like shit. Like I feel terrible. I look terrible, the whole thing. Ugh. So I went on a 12-day taper, and then the poison ivy came back. And so then they were like, we got to make sure we kick it this time. And they put me on a 16-day taper. So I was basically, I was basically on it for a month, and I've been off of it for like every day that I've been off of it, that was a hair. I've been feeling better.
I can tell. And
in the interim, I got a kidney infection. So like, and then I was on different antibiotics, and it's just been
all like, I mean, I don't know how prednisone affects you, but do you think you were like became more susceptible? Because they say when you're on antibiotics,
it's possible, yeah,
like your body's like, so like it, you know, it really fucks with you, antibiotics.
Right. Yeah. It's possible. And like theoretically prednisone makes you more thirsty, but it's possible it makes you more hungry and more thirsty. But like, it's possible that I was like drinking less water because I felt like shit. I don't really know.
Right.
And if that's the case, like that's obviously going to make you more susceptible to a kidney infection. So it's just been, I'm on the up and up. We're doing much better, but like,
right. So that's why you're having wine. You deserve it.
I haven't had wine in, I don't even know how long, because like you can't drink while you have a kidney infection. And I like wasn't really drinking it while I was on prednisone because I like didn't feel great. So here we are.
Yes.
Drinking wine.
Drinky.
Okay.
Well, those are some pretty heavy, try saying that out loud, for not having any.
Right, for not having any this month.
We talk for like 35 minutes.
Yep.
I want to talk about another thing. You know me, I love listening to like I don't want to call them like spiritual podcasts, but there is a podcast. Jesus. Ay.
Welcome.
There's a podcast host, and his name is Jay Shetty.
Okay.
And he actually was a monk for a time. So I just find him like a very
no way
human. Yeah, he's really cool. He has a book that just came out that I'm really excited to read. But he has really cool people on, like just really like, you know, he'll bring on like Kristen Bell, you know, or like he brings on like random people, like, but also he'll, you know, talk to like, you know, different, I don't know. He just has a great variety. And Gwyneth Paltrow was on his podcast. And you know me, like I am a self-proclaimed very goopy person. It's privileged as fuck.
Oh my God. I really hope that you and Ben have a conversation about goop. There is nothing Ben hates more than goop.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm the first person to be like, this is so fucking insane. And like, basically the target market is like wildly wealthy, but not me even. Like wildly fucking wealthy people that like can buy the most ridiculous shit.
You think her skincare is good?
I have used a couple of the products. I like it. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not like I would choose other brands before hers, right. And I don't buy the clothes. I mean, honestly, so I started. Oh,
I didn't even know there were clothes.
She has like a line, like G label or whatever, which is fine, whatever. But no, so I actually started getting into it because they have great content actually. And they like speak to a lot of cool medical professionals. Like I reviewed a book earlier in the year called Energy Medicine. And like, I heard about this woman on her podcast. So like they have like cool, anyway, so that's why I am into it. But, I just think generally like Gwyneth is kind of an interesting person. I'm like a little fascinated by her. So this podcast, so I was listening to
She's an enigma.
She is. She's so interesting. And this like conscious uncoupling and like how that was like such a wild thing.
Such a thing. Her husband.
No, but so Jay asked her about that time in her life. And I don't know, was she in her early, I don't know how old she is now. She's in her 40s. I don't either. But yeah, whatever, whenever the divorce happened. She referenced, and it made me think of you, which is why I like immediately wrote it down to talk about today. And she said that she thinks that every woman in their 40 goes through what she calls a software upgrade.
In their 40s?
In their 40s. And so then I was like, but wait. What if we're 30, Gwyneth? What's happening? Because I thought
what
about
if we're almost 33?
Right. What if we're like just in our 30s?
Upgrade.
Yeah, but that's how she was kind of like, I just kind of like woke up one day. Like I woke up in my early 40s and I was like, I'm not living my life the way I want to be living it. And I was just like, almost had a mental breakdown because I was like, I feel like I had that already. If it happens again, what's going to happen?
Have you met us, Gwyneth?
Right. Like, do you understand? Because I mean, we could talk about this all day, but like I, worked in technology marketing for almost a decade, was having, like my husband's very passionate about what he does. And it's inspiring to me because I want to love what I do as much as he loves what he does. And so I quit my job, took basically a year off, then kind of fell into this interior design space, which is super interesting and creative for me. But then this year, health crisis, not even half of yours, but health crisis in a variety of aspects, leading me into this, holistic nutrition angle, which I'm so excited about. But I'm so pumped. But I've changed my life, once
the pivot queen of all pivot queens.
I've changed my life once a year for the last 3 years. And I'm like, okay, Gwyneth, I cannot have this at 40 again. Like, please don't tell. Like, what?
You're like, I need to stop upgrading. You're like, I got to find the upgrade that lasts for a couple of years.
This isn't like Apple software development where always improve. I'm like, this is unsustainable.
You're like, I don't need an upgrade every minor bug. Like, I just need.
Right. So
I feel like that's exactly. I feel like that's where both of us are right now. Like you have gone, like you said, from tech to interior design and now into holistic nutrition, which I'm so pumped about. I'm so pumped for you to coach my life. It's going to be so great. It's going to be amazing. And with me, I wouldn't have said I was a pivot queen because I'm not, I'm generally not. I had my life sort of mapped out.
Right.
I went straight from college to law school and it didn't go exactly as planned, but I moved home and began practicing law immediately and then moved to Charlotte and began practicing law in North Carolina after I retook the North Carolina bar. So I've just been practicing law for
and you knew you wanted to be a lawyer since you were little, right?
Yeah, I've wanted to be a lawyer for so long. And like it literally started, I've told the story so many times, but my mom used to, when my dad was like still working at an office that required him to wear like, like business attire, like a suit and tie every day, my mom used to iron his shirts. I feel like that's like such an old school
That's so
thing.
cute. Like,
Yeah, but she literally, so it's like she would turn on TV and like have all of his shirts and like she would iron his shirts, and like that feels like so long ago because then now I'm like, they definitely dry clean all of their clothes. But
your mom's like, so that.
100%. But she used to iron his shirts, and I would sit in her room and she would be watching Matlock on TV. And when I was little, like that's like I would just sit with her on the weekend and watch Matlock, and that's like my first memory of wanting to be a lawyer, which is like such a like watching TV is like such a weird thing, but like it just like never went away. Like it just became the thing. And then as I got older, you hear the thing that's like, oh, you're so good at arguing, you should be a lawyer. That's the worst reason to be a lawyer. Like don't.
Worst reason.
People do that all.
You gotta like to fucking read is what my take.
You have to like to read. You have to be a good writer. You like. There's just so much. Like there's very few attorneys, honestly, that argue. Like Ben doesn't argue.
Right, and it's about the strength of your arguments, not the actual act of arguing. So I hate that.
Correct.
It's like you're bossy.
Right.
And
it's
like,
so stupid.
Right. I'm like, no.
It's your bossy is such a dumb thing, but people say it all the time. I've had countless people being like, I've always thought about going to law school, like, and here are the reasons, and it always includes I like arguing or I'm good at arguing, and I'm like, that's a bad reason. Don't fucking go to law school.
You're a fucking idiot. What are you thinking?
I mean, I still tell people to this day, if you don't want to practice law, don't go to law school. Because there's a ton of people that are like, I might go to law school just so I have like a postgraduate degree as opposed to like an MBA.
They choose law school over a fucking stupid, MBAs I think are dumb as fuck.
But like an MBA or whatever. And I'm like, do not, absolutely do not. It's a waste of money. Like I'm
so much money. So intense. Like, I'm sorry, like grad school, like MBA, like people like party. It's like college again.
Right. The only thing that was like college again was my second semester of my last year. And it literally, I mean, it was a joke, but like, that's it.
2 years of hell prior to that. Yeah.
Correct. But so I literally tell people, I'm like, absolutely not. If you don't want to go to law, if you don't want to practice law, find something else to do. Because like it is not worth your time. It's not worth the debt you're going to go into. Like Ben and I always talk about like once the company that he works for sells and like he has stock in the company, so he'll get paid out. It's like, well, X amount has to go to your student loans. Like I'm multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt from law school.
Horrible.
I mean, it's just like one of those things. It's like fake at this point. It's just like, you have this ridiculous payment that you're going to be paying until you die. Like, it's just like
stupid. You're just like, I can't even give thought process to this because it's too much.
No. But so when I got laid off from my job in April because of COVID, which like I was very much not expecting, a partner had just given his notice a few weeks before. He like unrelated to everything. He like went to a different firm, and I was like, oh, perfect. Like this is job security.
Right. Like you're thinking it's a positive. Yeah.
Right. Incorrect. I mean, part of that was just because the firm itself wasn't doing as well. It wasn't so much about our team necessarily, but I was the newest Charlotte associate. So like there was no way that it wasn't going to be me. So I had my year anniversary would have been this June. So like I was still only like 9 months in. So like there was just no way. But so then that led to like, what am I going to do? Am I going to start my own business? Am I going to be a wedding planner? Which like we quickly learned I'm not doing. Ben made me go through, and he's very good at this kind of stuff. He made me go through like a pro and con list of like, what are the things that are really important to you? Like,
generally.
Well, sort of generally, but like related to work, like how much do you value going into an office? Which I would have said not that much until I haven't fucking left my house.
Right.
I think I value going into an office part-time a lot.
For sure. Yeah.
Like I like the flexibility of being able to work from home on days that I need to, but I like people. Yeah. So at least part-time, a lot. How much do you value a stable salary? A lot. Which like when you start your own business, impossible.
Not a thing, yeah.
Not a thing. Like if you become, even if you become like a famous, like you become a famous podcaster, that's not a stable income.
So many startup costs. So many startup costs. These mics ain't cheap, yo. These mics ain't cheap.
And Jack, we love you.
Thank you.
And it's right. So, I mean, there's no way to know like how much money you're going to make at any given month, day, year, whatever. So he was like, stable income. How much does that matter to you? A lot. How much does it matter to you that you're doing something incredibly intellectually stimulating? And I was like, medium. like I was like,
he's like, wedding planning, not it.
Well, I was like, right. But I was like, he's like, basically, are you like really trying to solve the world's problems? Do you want to do busy work? Do you need to be somewhere in between? And I was like, somewhere in between. If I'm stressed out every day, like that's not a good fit.
No.
And I imagine there are some legal jobs where you're stressed out every day because like the work that you're doing is so intense.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what the other things were, but basically he made me go through this list.
Love that about him.
It was actually super helpful because what it came down to was that like starting my own business, like probably like at least right now, like not the right fit.
Right.
Like I wanted a stable income. And like, if you're starting your own business, you're working by yourself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm actually not that good at it. Like I just worked a temp job for the last 3 months. I did like a contract position with a company here that was involved in like my medical malpractice background. And it was like the perfect like sort of stopgap. I was paid well. And I was doing work that like, it didn't really stress me out because A, I was temporary.
Right.
And B, it just like wasn't like any sort of life or death work basically.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no like real stressful element to it because like you knew that like whatever happened, like nothing major was like on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So it was like a good fit in that way, but it was also like boring. So like there's just so much to like trying to figure out like where I would pivot. Ben thinks PR would be a really good fit for me.
Yeah.
And apparently a lot of lawyers like pivot to PR if they like
it makes a lot of sense.
Profession.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You have to be good at writing, at least litigation attorneys like good at speaking. So like that makes sense. But there's PR firms aren't necessarily like apt to just like hire someone that's 7 years attorney experience, no PR experience.
I wonder if there's like an angle where you work for someone that does PR, like where your legal background is really helpful to them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like their client, you know what I mean? Like that could be kind of interesting, like PR for like a doctor who like something, I don't know. It doesn't even need to be specific in the medical space, but it could be interesting.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And like, it's just been a really interesting process as we try to figure out like what makes the most sense. And there's a type of law, not law, but like a job here or job everywhere called doc review, which is basically like kind of a stop. It's some people's full-time jobs, but it's for a lot of attorneys, it's a stopgap where like if you're in between jobs or like looking to pick up extra money, you can like review like massive amounts of discovery for huge firms that have huge cases. And like it's paid by the hour, so it's not like a salary type position, and there's a lot of like minimum hour requirements, and it's paid like mediocrely, like bordering on like paralegal type work. And I've asked Ben a couple of times, I'm like, do you want me to just do doc review in the interim? And he's been like, no, I want you to like really figure out what it is that you want to do. I would rather you like kind of figure that out and aggressively apply to like good jobs that you would want, as opposed to just like optimizing for income in that way. So yeah, we're the pivot queens. I mean, you're now in holistic nutrition, and who knows what I'm going to be doing.
And who knows what's going to happen at the age of 40, apparently, according to Gwyneth Paltrow.
A new software upgrade.
Don't need any more.
I don't need another software upgrade.
I'm good on the bug fixes. The world, I feel like, needs a software upgrade. I'm down for a November software upgrade, but
iOS 15, we're here for it.
100%.
Although let's talk about how great iOS 14 is. Life-changing. So good. I'm sorry if you have an Android, but like iOS 14 has changed the game.
And whatever. Android just makes things look kitschier to me, and I might have a reaction to it because I worked at Google and they always wanted you to have, we got free phones on the holidays. Like,
obviously
the Android, and I'm like, it's just so ugly. It's like not aesthetically pleasing at all. And I would always give it to my mom.
Because everything we have is Apple. Like, it just connects so seamlessly. Our whole
so seamless, and and somehow they borrow Android ideas and just make them look prettier.
It's like the rounded edges, all of it, just all of it.
It's just the best. Is just better for some reason. I don't know. There's something about it. It's just
there is something about it.
Experience.
So we're now into the Enneagram astrology section of the podcast. This seems to be honestly everyone's favorite. It was Ben's least favorite because
Obviously, Ben. He's not the target.
He was like, you guys talked about that for too long. You aren't experts. I'm like, listen, everyone else thinks we are, so.
No, I'm like, listen, I am not a fucking expert. Everything I'm about to say is Chani Nicholas, and so there you go. But no, it's a wild time. If we want to go into the fucking planets.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about the planets. So there's a lot going on. And again, everything I give credit to Chani Nicholas because I'm
and that is how you pronounce her name.
Yes, thank you. That was mortifying that I spent an entire episode. But it's so, I have to I even practiced before last episode and I still fucked it up. So I have to consciously Chani. Anyway.
It's because it's not intuitive when you look at it.
No, I always think ah. I don't think sounds.
But it's Chani.
My face makes that face. It's ugly. So anyway, so everything is credited to her, basically. I pulled a little bit. There's another woman named Nadine that I follow on Instagram that has some good insights. But anyway, mainly it's Chani. But there's a lot of shit going on. My takeaway, to give a TLDR, is that the planets are aligning themselves in a way where the world is primed for action and turning shit upside down.
Hello.
Yes, which can be seen as a really positive thing, as in we have the ability to, change the administration
enact change
and get, all of these Black Lives Matter movements, all of these things, maybe we're on a path to actually seeing things come to fruition. Or it could be on the other side of it is if we don't act. And that's the other thing. I mean, I think one thing that I really like that Chani does is she's we're not our charts in the astrology and the planets, doesn't mean we can just sit back and
do nothing.
Right. It's actually we have to that power is in the universe. We have to harness it and actually fucking do something with it.
Right.
So anyway, so that's kind of my takeaway. Basically, to give you guys a feeling, and this will come out, this episode will come out in the beginning of October, but Mars started, which is the warrior planet, so there's a lot of conflict generally, in a Mars ruled atmosphere.
Okay.
Started retrograding, which basically means the planet doesn't move backwards. It just really slows down. So it spends a lot of time, I don't know, whatever.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It doesn't really people think it's it's moving backwards, Mercury.
It doesn't.
Oh, it's moving back. It's not, I think it's just the speed of the planet. I can check that.
Okay.
But that started on September 9th and is going through November 14th. And
it's a long time.
Yes, it's a long time. And I think that's why, because I think the planet really slows down. So Aries as a sign is Mars's home. Mars loves to be in Aries. That's its favorite fucking place. I'm my best self.
But what about when it's in retrograde?
But so when it's in retrograde, it just intensifies everything. So
okay.
it's not bad that Mars is in Aries. It's just intensifying kind of and it's especially intense because it's its home sign, basically.
Right.
But what's interesting, so Mars was previously in retrograde in Venus in the beginning of the year, and Venus is the lover planet. So basically, it, and the way Chani describes it is, at that time, we were kind of reevaluating, in a kind of intense way, but reevaluating our relationships to people.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So now, it's a bit Mars is definitely more of an aggressive planet, in Aries especially, it's more of an aggressive, kind of not specific to just yourself. It's kind of let's make grand sweeping changes. Let's fight for more people, essentially, is kind of how you
okay.
read it. So it's just a really powerful time to just be not so introspective, but also kind of like extroverted with whatever energy we're possessing in this Mars. So everyone's going to struggle with something differently in Mars retrograde, or struggle or not struggle. It might be like a really powerful time for some people. So my sun sign is Aries. And so I've like struggled in this time, but I actually have turned it kind of into an empowerment thing. So I don't know if that's specific to someone who also has their sun sign in Aries. I have no idea. But
I definitely don't have mine in Aries. Mine is in Saturn. I knew at one point and I don't remember. But
yeah,
mine, so that makes sense that I'm struggling.
Yeah, you might struggle again. It also depends on where Mars
I'm
is
looking to see where mine is. Yeah, like I saved my little chart. Continue.
So then on October 1st, which we have not experienced yet, then
that's the day this comes out.
Yes, there's a full moon in Aries. And Channy says that this full moon is very extra, hot and bothered. So basically it's intensifying everything that you've been feeling the last month. It's kind of like intensifying that. But full moons are generally kind of like
intense, right? Like it's not like a normal thing.
Yeah, but like hopefully Mars is the warrior planet. Hopefully people are kind of turning whatever they were feeling into kind of action in these moments. Then listen to this, which I feel I've been having. So Mercury, which everyone always talks about being in retrograde. It's like
that's the normal
messenger
one.
Yeah, it's like the messenger planet. So like communication, like people are like, oh, don't buy like a phone when Mercury's in retrograde, or like don't buy like anything that's like
really
because like I guess Mercury kind of is like a little bit of a sneaky planet. And so it can make you think you're like doing really well, and then like kind of pull like whatever. I don't fucking know. Anyways, but it started its pre-retrograde in September 23rd. So there's like a pre-retrograde period, which I didn't know about. And then the full retrograde starts on October 13th and ends on November 3rd.
Cool.
Hello,
the election.
I know you just realized that. I was waiting for you. So basically like this pre-retrograde period of September 23rd and then like coming to a fruition on November 3rd is Mercury is the communication planet, right? And so
so Mercury and Mars, they're not, they are going to be in retrograde at the same time.
For a bit. Yeah, for a bit at the same time.
I'm not here for that.
But, and I wrote something about that actually. So basically with Mars in retrograde, since that's the warrior planet, it's like, it's an incredibly powerful time to still make change. Like we're still harnessing this energy to make change because of Mars. But with Mercury, we just have to be like extra careful about our communication thing. So Channy's like, cast your fucking ballots early. Like if you're voting by mail.
I voted already.
Yes, you did.
I voted. We got our mail-in ballots. Mine's already done. Ben is like, I researched every race, but Ben's like, I want to do it myself, even though like we're clearly going to vote the same way.
Right.
So his is still sitting on our kitchen counter, but I voted. And then there's a way that you can, in North Carolina, that you can track your ballot.
Yes.
So I signed up for that. And then I just got a notification this week that my ballot was accepted. So not only like, did it make it there, that like, there was no issue. And then accepted. I'm very excited. And Ben was actually very good. He said, like, you need to make sure, apparently North Carolina has had an abnormal amount of ballots rejected. For like one of the main reasons, like signatures not matching, something not being filled out. Like but
here's the thing. I was listening to The View, and I mean, one of the big things that Trump is touting is that like election fraud is like such a big, like ballot fraud is so huge. It's like 0.0001% or something. And I'm like, okay, let's like quit the fucking fake news. Like, let's get facts, people. But yes, to ballot tracking. I think that most states do it. It's ballot tracks, right? Ballottracks.com or something.
TRAX.
Yeah, TRAX. Yes. So everyone track your ballot. It just makes a lot of sense. Anyway, so that's basically, I mean, vote early. Like there's so much
vote early, vote once.
Right. And here are some things. I did take a course of hers because I love her little like astrology courses.
Channy's.
Yeah. So I wrote down from this course, these are a couple of my bullets, is piecing ourselves back together. If that tells you anything about the power of this cycle, of this Mercury cycle. Long-term plans become a huge focus, And with Mars retrograding at the same time, it's just an incredibly powerful time to make change and wield our powers for the greater good. So we just have to basically keep our fucking focus is basically what I'm taking from it.
I hate that so much.
I know. So I literally wrote in all caps, do not get fucking comfortable, because
and the other thing I'm going to say, PSA about voting early, the earlier you vote, the more guarantee that your vote is going to be counted on election night. Of course, like they're saying, anything that's postmarked, I don't know if it's the day of election day or the day before, is going to be counted. But we don't want there to be a question on election day. Like that is a bad scenario.
And the issues the USPS has been having, like, let's not fuck with, like
just get your ballot in early. There is no reason to mess with it. Get it in and have your vote be counted early. And then you know where your state is sitting early. Yeah. There's just no reason to be.
No reason not to. I agree.
Nope. No reason to be dealing with that.
And okay, so I have so many fucking bullets on this because I've read some really interesting things, but I won't go through all of it. We'll save it for another time. But can we please talk about what I learned about women and our periods with regards to the planets? And
tell me. I'm so nervous.
I feel like I've told everyone about this book. It's called Beyond the Pill by Dr. Jolene Brighton. It changed my life. It's very a deceiving title. So it's like, if you've ever had a period in your life, read this book. You'll find something from it. Anyway, at the end, she doesn't go very in depth, but at the end she talks about, so she's an MD, but then kind of went this like more functional nutrition route. And she talks about at the end how she was like, okay, I need to like tap into like the spiritual energies. Like she's like, I'm going to find the book that like literally the pages are falling apart. It's so old. Like I want to look at like old ancient wisdom about
like
periods.
In the library.
Yes. And women, all women, our periods and our ovulation cycles are synced with the moon cycles. Specifically the full moon and the new moon. This will blow your fucking mind. Because I also like,
is that why it's 28 days?
Yes, generally. I think that's why. And also you know how you like in a sorority, you're like, oh, everyone's on the pill at the same time. And you think it's just like, oh, we're around each other. But like, no, like if you probably paid attention to the planet or like what's happening to the moon. So anyways, and I got off the pill really recently and I read this and I'm super irregular, but I was like, I'm just going to pay attention to like what the moon is doing. Or like if my period comes, I'm going to like look at what's going on. So it's all based upon basically the circadian rhythm and like the moon playing a role in like how much light and darkness we see.
When is the full moon?
The full moon is October 1st.
I get my period next week.
Okay, so that means you're a red moon goddess.
What does that mean?
That's great. I aspire to be a red moon goddess. No, they're both fine. They're both great. They're both like interesting. But anyway,
is one is for the full moon and one is the new moon?
So red moon cycle is you get your period on or around the full moon and you ovulate on the new moon. So new moon is October 16th. I don't know what the past years would be a past. Or
no, like I start my period.
Your ovulation probably is happening soon.
No, it would have been last week.
Last week. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I'm trying to think when the last new moon was. I could look it up. I didn't even
28, isn't it every 28 days?
Yeah, but you ovulate 10 days before you have a baby.
Oh, I thought it was like day 14.
I don't know. It depends.
That could be wrong. I have no idea. But in any event, my period will start on either September 30th or October 1st.
Yeah. So that basically means, so the old text says, quote, a red moon goddess is often a medicine woman, shaman, healer or priestess, which is like old school. Really old school. Yeah. So Jolene says in modern day, think doctors, nurses, CEOs, activists, artists, people who are like putting their energies like all around movers and shakers is kind of how she expresses it. Red moon goddess gets shit done. And they generally during their period focus their energies outward to the world. Whereas the white moon cycle or the white moon goddess is, I call her fertile myrtle, which is a mouthful. But basically that would be period on or around the new moon, ovulate on the full moon. They pull energy inward as a way to nourish themselves and tap into like their own intuition. So there's just internal strength with kind of like a new moon or a white moon goddess.
Wait, that's so interesting, as if like, I mean, there have to be people that fall in between, right?
Right. So it can change too. So like you're not a red moon goddess forever. Like, or you could be,
Interesting.
I guess. And
I mean, right now I'm really regular because I've been on the pill for an unlimited
right.
amount of time.
And you could, and so like, for instance, like people think, okay, you have to be kind of on this white moon cycle in order to get pregnant, but that's not true. Like this doctor had both of her kids when she was on the red moon's goddess cycle.
Interesting.
Anyways, but if it's coming several days before or after a new or full moon, you may be changing cycles.
Changing, right. Okay.
Or you could be being governed by other things like pill, like hormones, or like the planets, who knows what, everyone's different. But anyways, I just thought that was so wild because
that is wild.
I think I ovulated around the full moon. And then I had my period around the new moon, but it was like, I mean, a couple days, like my hormones, I'm getting regular, like I am not regular at all right now. But anyway, I just thought that was really
that is so wild. And like, all right, are we ready? Are we ready for some Enneagram?
Oh yeah, give it to me. You had questions from people. Also, can we just tell everyone that we have no idea what I am? Like we thought I was a 2. So I'm like breaking the Enneagram.
I am so stressed by this. I can't even explain to you.
I know, like, Jamie was like, I feel like I let you down. And I was like, it's not that serious. We're like
it. And like a huge part of the Enneagram is like, you should, and I say this as I've like typed half of Instagram, but like, you really shouldn't let someone type you. Like, that's the truth, is like, the bottom line is like, you are the best judge of what you are 100%. Like if you tell, like if you're like, no, I'm really this, like that's what you are. Like I'm not, or anyone else, no one is like able to really discern that.
Right.
Like I'm pretty good at it, but like the bottom line is like, if you don't feel a certain number, like you're not, like that's just what it is. And so, well, when you took the test the first time, like 2 and 6 were like the main 2 that were at the top. They were either tied or like they were one number apart. Right. And I've always told people, and like
also your top, I had like 4 that were kind of close.
Right. I always tell people like, no matter which test you take, and this kind of goes to a couple of the questions that I've gotten, like the best free test, and people will definitely disagree with me on this. And I say it's the best free test because it's the one that I tell people to take and then send me their results, and I kind of help them parse through, is the Eclectic Energies Enneagram test, the classic Enneagram test. And it is free. And I tell people to screenshot the results to me and send them, and I can kind of walk them through. And the best in general Enneagram test is the Enneagram Institute. It costs $12. It says it takes 40 minutes. It really only takes 15 to 20.
Yeah, that's the one I did.
Yes.
And which I wonder if I took this free one, should I do that and then compare?
Yeah, we'll just see. We'll just see.
I'm so
but so the first time you took the paid one, 2 and 6 were like at the top. And then I think you said like 1 and 3 were also very much there. And that was like the big indicator to me that you were a 2, because like the wings were so high and your 6 wings were so low. 5 and 7 were literally almost at the bottom. Right. Like they were your bottom 3.
Right.
And I was like, oh, like this makes so much sense. And like 2s also very often get along with 2s extremely well. Like 2s understand 2s.
Yes.
And that's not always the case for other numbers, but like 2s understand 2s extremely well. And so it just made sense to me. I was like, okay, yeah. So like you're 2, and like we talked about your wing actually more than we talked about your type, because I was like, yeah, this just makes sense. So recently you've been telling me like you haven't really felt like a 2. And I was like, well, you know, a lot of 2s, like you're in group chats with a lot of 2s, like you aren't as like heavy a 2 as like some of the other people that we're interacting with. So like,
you always described it as like, I'm a very healthy 2.
Right. Like you're not one that like feels like you need to put all of your energy into other people, which is like a 2 trait. And that's not necessarily bad.
Right.
But like
I just have a balance.
A very common trait of 2s is like they worry about other people before they worry about themselves. And you don't have kids. You are just living with Alex and your dog. So like there isn't like this need to pour energy into your children, which is like a very common trait of 2s.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And you just like obviously had this pull, and you were like, I'm just really not feeling it. And you took the test again, and 7 was at the top. Mind you, it was like your 3rd lowest the first time you took it.
Well, and not to mention it was like 7, 2, or 6. Was it 6 or 7, 2, and then 1 and like there were top 4, and the top 2 were tied, and the bottom
Next
two were tied. And they were off by 1 digit.
One. Right. It was like 7, 2, 6, and 1, all off by one number.
It was like 19, 19, 18, 18. And I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this?
And like when I've paid and retaken the institute test since I've like discovered I'm a 2. And the first time, the institute was actually how I discovered I was a 2, because I was mistyping as a 4 for a long time.
Interesting.
And that's what a couple of our friends are. And it makes sense because 2s go to 4 in health. So like it makes sense when you mistype as a number that like you go to in health or stress. Like you can kind of acknowledge and like figure out why that happens. Or a wing. If you mistype as a wing, the institute basically says like the reason you're mistyping is because it's like a wing versus main issue. Like it makes sense to mistype as that issue.
Got it.
2 and 7 literally have no relation to each other. It's like I can't even, that's why it really blows my mind that like that it's potential that you're a 7 and then have like we've mistyped you in such a like a dramatic way.
I just don't know. And I also like that. I know you probably got a question about this, but I feel like I answered this test. I mean, I also just feel like I took it at a different frame of mind. Like, I don't know.
And that matters. That matters for sure. We have a friend that took it and she said that she, like the way she got her results, she's a 2, but she got 2 and 4 at like the top. And she's like, I just was really depressed when I took this test. And 4s are extremely emotional and like can be sort of melancholy.
Right.
And so she was like, that makes sense. And like, she's definitely like the way we like kind of analyzed it. She was like, oh, I'm definitely a 2. So it made sense, but like also 2 and 4 are related. So like that also made sense, but it does matter the headspace that you take it in.
Yeah. I would say like the headspace I took this most recent one in, I was kind of like my attitude. I don't know. I mean, I also took the original test at the very beginning of quarantine, right? Yeah. And like there was a lot of stuff going on, and I did feel kind of like I was like the emotional backbone of a lot of people, and like that's where my energies were going.
So that matters.
Like my dad passed away, like worrying about my mom, like all those things. And then now I'm kind of in this position of.
Do you feel more like yourself now?
I feel healthier now. Like I feel
that matters.
Like I don't know that it's like a better version of myself. Like I can't speak to that, but I still feel like I care about people. But I told you, I was like, I feel like as a friend, I'm a 2. Like for my small group of, like I'm not the person with 7,000 friends. So like for my small, like I feel like I definitely like have that attitude for my friendships, but like,
right.
Generally speaking, I'm like a confident person that's not really concerned with what people think about me. Like I feel like I used to be that way, but I'm not at all fucking concerned. And I'm very much, and you're right, like I have no kids, I have no other outlet, but I'm very much like, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do. Like that's my attitude.
Right. We also have a friend that like, her top 2 were 3 and 7, which also have no relation to each other. And the way that we were able to discover which type she was by looking at health and stress. And when you and I last talked, like it seemed like the health and stress of a 7 were much more similar to you than the health and stress of a 2. The health and stress of a 2 are 4 and 8. And the health and stress of a 7 are 1 and 5. And when you were reading about them, you said you seem to relate a lot more to 1 and 5 than 4 and 8. So we're going to like do a further deep dive on it because it really stresses me out. This is going to be like a case
study that just follow along everyone. Jamie got me like this fucking giant
It's an encyclopedia.
An encyclopedia. So like hopefully I'm going to be able to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. And like it's called The Wisdom of the Enneagram. It's basically a book form of the Enneagram Institute. It goes a lot more in depth, but like it's sectioned off by the 9 types and you can just like read the section on your type if you already know your type, or you can like pick your types and read more
I'm excited because I like I'm totally the person, like I just want to know, like I'm so curious about like
and like ultimately it's going to be you that decides, like but you're going to be the one that's not, like yes.
So they don't change. I mean, that's a question you got, right? Like they don't change very often, do they?
So no, they don't. And like the main reason for that is because a lot of it is based on like the basic motivation and the basic fear. And this is something that like I have a hard time with because and maybe I just haven't delved enough into it for me, but a lot of it comes from your childhood and like how you were raised, and like the reason your specific number is because of like how you were raised and like why you acted a certain way. And I haven't really figured out like why that means I'm a 2, and like maybe it's because I'm an older sibling to my sister and like the caring, nurturing type of thing.
Yes, and I was the youngest, so I'm
right.
not.
So that like that might have something to do with it. But so like the basic fear and basic motivation stems from your childhood. So like the odds of it changing like aren't so good. It just means like you might have been mistyped for a long time. And we have a friend that like actually she thought she was a 2 for a long time. And then she all of a sudden realized she was a 5. And I discussed with her recently that she actually might not be a 5. She might be a 1. And she's like losing her mind about it. But like, the thing is you were likely this number the whole time. It's just like that you were mistyping and like misdiagnosing certain aspects of your personality.
Yeah.
So the odds of you changing over time is not that strong. But this was a question that I got. There are people that I know that have more of a different type of personality at work versus home.
Yeah.
And my next door neighbor, she's an 8. And she told me, like, when she told me she was an 8, I was like, really? And she said, yeah, like, I'm definitely an 8. And it's like much more my work personality than it is like my friend personality.
Yes, that's kind of how I feel.
But she was like, it's obviously like more dominant than like my friend personality, because when she's like taking the quizzes and she's read about it herself, she's like, yeah, I'm an 8. So generally speaking, like even if you have a different one, like for work versus for friends or work versus home, there will be a personality that dominates, whether it's your home or your work, and you'll be able to discern which one comes out more.
Yeah.
So like it probably means that like when she's in health or in stress, the tendencies of the 8 come out more than whatever her home personality is or her friend personality is. So like, yes, you can have
kind of a 2 personality type. Yeah.
But like generally speaking, you're going to be able to discern which one is like overarching, if that makes sense.
I'm very excited to figure out what my overarching
I'm
one is.
so excited to figure out where you are. So yeah, I'm looking at some of the questions that we got. I've talked about like the best tests. And one main question that I've gotten is, can wings shift over time? Yes, 100%.
But only one, it's only on either side.
Right. So if you're a 2, which is what I am, your wings can only be 1 or 3. So that goes for every number. Your wings can only be the numbers on either side of you. So they're only going to shift in that way. It's not, people will tell me like, oh, I'm a 2 wing 7. You're not. That's not a thing. So, so basically you're either, if you're a 2, you're either a 2 wing 1 or a 2 wing 3, and you can be balanced wings. If you have, none of it is good or bad. It just means it's who you are. You can pull from both wings equally. You can pull from one or the other more dramatically. It just kind of depends on what your personality is, and that can shift over time for sure. And I would say if you're new to the Enneagram, this was another question that I got. There are a lot of Enneagram experts that will say, don't take a quiz. It can be misleading. And I can see why that's the case. Because especially if you take a free quiz, there is I think it's called Truity, Truity. When people tell me they've taken the quiz, I hate it. The results are very misleading. It comes out in percentages. So it'll be like, your type 2 score is 98%. Your type 3 score is 97%. Your type 5 score is 92%. And like, it's not
so hard. Yeah.
It's so hard to like actually break it down. And I also don't think the quiz is very good. So it really depends on the quiz that you're taking. I think the Enneagram Institute is a great quiz. I think like if you're willing to pay the $12, I think it's reliable. And
or the Eclectic Energies free one.
Right. But with that one, what I tell people is I think your type is almost certainly in the top 3, but I don't necessarily.
There's a little more variance. Interesting.
Yes. I don't necessarily think that whatever you get as the main one is going to be your type.
I want Alex to take this so bad.
He is a 3. It's not even a question.
I know, but are you going to poop your pants if he comes back and it's like not a 3?
Yes.
You're gonna have a mental breakdown.
I'm gonna lose my shit.
I wouldn't tell you out of the safety for your health.
I would say maybe he could be a 1, but like I don't think he's a 1. That's the perfectionist.
Yes.
So like he could be a 1, but like, and maybe an 8, maybe.
I really want, he'll never take
So
it.
we're going to, like, I'm going to make him take M. But like 1, 3, or 8, I have no doubts it is one of those 3 numbers. Like 3 is my major thing, but like, anyway. So my main thing would be, if you're new, like, I still think you should take a quiz, even though some experts would say, don't take a quiz, like just read about it. I think a quiz is a good place to start. A lot of people like quizzes, like it's an easy way to kind of gauge where you are, but know that like there's an okay chance that whatever your top one is like maybe not the exact one, but know that it's probably
I am interested
3.
to read that book because I think it will help me to know kind of what to pay attention to. Like after taking the quizzes, I'll know. But maybe I'll be totally mind fucked. So you guys stay tuned. I'll keep you posted on my Enneagram journey.
And I would, this is just a fun question, and I don't have a great answer to it, but I can tell you what I wouldn't do. You have to survive on an island for 3 days with 2 other types. What are you picking?
What?
And the answer is not mine. A 2 is not helpful in that situation. Like in general, I'm generally like, decently resourceful, but like if I'm surviving on an island for 3 days, I'm not picking me. Like I'm probably picking a 1.
Really? A perfectionist though? Like are they paralyzed by indecision?
No, actually, no, they're not paralyzed.
That's good.
Maybe an 8. Like they're very like, let's go. I'm just not picking me. I don't know what the actual answer is. I'm not picking me. I'm not picking a 4. I love you, my 4s, my babies, but you and I are not like the team.
Not figuring this shit out together.
And I can tell you this much. I'm not picking a 6 either. They are like completely struck by anxiety. And I have a ton of friends that are 6s who know we're not like great with this. So
what about a 5? I feel like a 5 would probably be like, we're gonna die.
No, I think so. Ben is a 5. One of our other really good friends is a 5. They're actually like pretty innovative.
Okay.
So I think
innovation. I'll take that.
Yeah. I think a 5 is good. I honestly,
and they're also like, it would maybe also help my anxiety. So my perception is they're probably just very realistic.
100%.
They're like, we might die, but let's try this. I'm like, okay, all right. So at least you're setting my expectations.
Yes. So, my answer is probably either going to be 5 and 1 or 5 and 8. But truthfully, I'm hoping I'm not a 2, so that it can be like 5, 8, and somebody else. Like maybe 5, 8, and 1, but like the answer is not a 2.
Yeah.
And the last question I got, and this is a really hard one to answer, is the most compatible pairings. And the main answer is that you generally won't see 2 of the same type together.
Interesting.
Enneagram is, you will not see 2s and 2s together, that kind of stuff. It's much more common that you see opposites together, 2 and 5, which is my husband and I. We are the Enneagram double opposite, which means extrovert and introvert and feeling and thinking. So we are just like,
love that.
Very opposite, but like the Institute has said, this is actually a much more common pairing than you would think.
Totally. Opposites attract. There's a reason they say that, right?
Right. So that is actually a pretty common pairing. Basically anyone with a 9 is like up there. 9s are just very chill.
Easy to be with.
They're the peacemaker. So they're pretty chill, and they're pretty easy for anyone to date.
I mean, 9s to be with generally, not in the negative way, but okay, that's interesting.
And
it looks like, so we can share on our website, we can actually put links. I'll put links up to the articles we've been talking about too, if we want to do that.
Oh, great.
But we can link out to this Enneagram Institute. They have relationship breakdowns by type, it looks like, from what you have.
Yes. Okay. It's so great if you know your type and your partner's type. You're able to literally any number. You can go through the entire thing and read about your relationship. And that honestly can help you determine your type if you know for sure what your partner's type is. So like if we were, for example, know Alex's type is a 3, you can go and read a 2 and a 3 versus a 7 and a 3. And determine like which one sounds more like your relationship. That is like a
That would be
a
helpful.
way,
Yeah.
to determine. Another common pairing is a 2 and an 8. And there are a lot of pairings that like make sense where it's a pairing that has like a stress and health component. Like 8s go to 2 in health and 2s go to 8 in stress. So there are
or the wings. It looks like there's some wing pairings, like 1s and 2s.
Yes, 1 and 2. Yep. The other really common one is actually my best friend and her husband. 3 and 9 is an extremely common pairing. When they ended up taking the Enneagram because I was like so into it, and they were like the last in my group of friends from home to take it, and they like made a night out of it. They like made dinner and they made drinks, and they were like, all right, we're going to take the Enneagram, and they like figured out their types, and it was really cool. And once they determined which ones they were and read about it, I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Like,
I have a question that I'm just thinking of while we close this section out, not to interrupt you, but it just occurred to me. I'm like, if you started your own business and you were interviewing people, would you ask for their Enneagram type and like make a decision based on like how you, like in a work setting? Like if you're on your own and it's the first person you're hiring, like, are you concerned? Like, I just wonder, because that's a really interesting question. Super ancient. So like, why have, I don't know, like how have we not been using this?
Well, and so it's interesting because like Ben's company, I mean, they were already hired, but like I don't think it's the whole company, but like he's on the leadership team. The leadership team all knows their Enneagram type and all know what it means. Ben actually knew his Enneagram type before I ever got into it, which is like actually really nice because I didn't have to make him take the test.
Right. I've only ever taken Myers-Briggs. I've only ever like had for work, like a fun, like a team bonding, like take the Myers-Briggs. I'm like, okay.
And that was actually the last question that I didn't even answer. But like the difference between Myers-Briggs and Enneagram is that Myers-Briggs tells you what you are and Enneagram tells you why. And so Enneagram gives you your motivations behind what you're doing and allows you to change. Myers-Briggs is just like, this is what you are.
So question then. If I know my Myers-Briggs, can I back into an Enneagram from that? Like, are there?
Yes, there are some correlations.
Okay.
It's not like definitely indicative. But the fact that you and I have the same Myers-Briggs makes me like, I'm not a 7.
Myers-Briggs. Yeah.
So that is like an interesting
I also took the Myers-Briggs so long ago. Like I haven't.
So like maybe take it again and see like how that pans out. But yeah, I would basically, the bottom line is like anyone can be compatible, right? There aren't like, if you're going to talk about any Enneagram type that isn't compatible, it's probably 2 and 5, my husband and I, because we're the Enneagram double opposites. So like
but there is works.
Right. It still works obviously because like they say that there's way more couples that are 2 and 5s than you would ever think.
Right.
So there are just like some Enneagram types that work exceptionally well together that like really complement each other. 3 and 9 is one of them. And then some of them that I have, like stress and health or wings, they just complement each other well. But really any Enneagram type that is willing to work on themselves.
To think about if you were like having a business and you were like, okay, I want to hire my first employee who's going to be like my right-hand man. Like, do I think about it? I don't know. It's just interesting.
I mean, like I would like to know, but because it's such a personal thing that if they didn't already know, like if it's someone that had never taken the Enneagram or like if they knew, it would be really helpful. But if it's someone that had never taken the Enneagram before, it would probably be more hindering than helpful because they'd be like so overwhelmed with all of the options and like understanding what it is.
Totally.
So yeah, we're gonna figure out what low is. That's our new goal. Like it freaks me out. It really freaks me out that I don't understand it.
Maybe I'll start reading that book tomorrow just because I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm gonna like go through the chapters of your potential types and like kind of take notes and figure out like
and do that in a silo while I read this, and then we can like you can help me figure it out.
Yes. Okay.
Speaking of
our
books,
final segment.
Yeah. Speaking of books, which we shockingly have not talked about the entire time, besides my Beyond the Pill plug. What are you? So okay, what was your favorite from September?
So my favorite, and I have a couple that I'm still like hoping to finish before the end of the month. I'm reading The Stationery Shop for one of our friends' book clubs. And then I'm hoping to finish this like fantasy book that everyone on fucking Bookstagram is talking about. I'm 70 pages in. It's like really long, but we'll see if I finish it.
I struggle with fantasy, although in quarantine, I've like appreciated it more. I've appreciated it more. And I did get some vibes. What did I even read that I was like saying? I don't know.
The Crows, Six of Crows.
Six of Crows. Yeah, like I appreciated it, but they're like generally too YA for me, but like what?
That's like sort of how I felt about the first one in this series. And it was for anyone that listens and reads fantasy. It's A Court of Thorn and Roses. I literally read that book in a day and I did not give a fuck about it. And so that's part of the reason I'm like not.
Your review
like
of that
really
was my favorite thing. You're like, this is just didn't give a fuck.
I just didn't care. I just didn't care. So the second book, everyone says the second book is so much better. I'm 70 pages in and it's like
whatever. It's like
something
fun to try new. Whatever.
Right.
But what was your favorite out of all the things
Winter
you read?
Counts.
Winter Counts. I want to read that. Yeah.
And oh my God, I'm the worst. I don't have the author's name, but he's Indigenous.
So cool.
And so he had like it's a Indigenous thriller. Basically, it takes place on a reservation in South Dakota. And it's a thriller. But you also learn about Indigenous culture as you're reading. And it's so good. I'm recommending it to everybody. I loved it. It was also for people that are still subscribed. It was a book of the month pick. So like it gives people, it is like really like kind of getting out there. And it was so good. It was definitely my favorite. And it wasn't a book that I like necessarily was like, oh, I'm definitely going to read it. Like it wasn't on my radar right away.
Right. And did you end up reading your, what did you pre-order last time for this month?
Black in the Midwest by Terry and L. Williamson. She was a professor. She is a professor.
Yeah. Did you end up reading that?
Minnesota. I did. And so it's actually, I didn't really do a ton of background research on it before I ordered it. I just knew it was going to be about being Black in the Midwest.
Right.
So what it was actually was a compilation of stories and photographs and paintings and poems by Black people that live in the Midwest.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't like
a narrative structure at all.
Right. I thought it was going to be like a study. And it was not like that at all. So it was really all of these like very like short stories or poems or like I said, photographs, or they had photographs of paintings of Black people in the Midwest. And it was fascinating. There were so many different aspects of it that I was like, oh my God, like just so cool to like hear all these different stories.
I hate, so here's one thing. I'm like the worst reader ever. I hate compilation books of short stories. And I know I shouldn't.
Not be your thing.
I know I shouldn't. Well, this might be interesting because it's like historical, but like otherwise, if it's like fictional short stories compiled, I'm like, what is the point?
Oh,
like, right. I'm like, not about that.
So it is not fictional. Sounds interesting. Obviously not fictional. But it was just like an interesting perspective because you got all the different Midwestern states. You had different types of literature in it. Yeah, it was not what I was expecting, but I'm glad I read it for sure.
That's awesome.
And pre-ordering for October. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. It comes out October 6th, and I'm pretty sure you pre-ordered this too.
We did. In a silo, I didn't know Jamie did. I tried not to look at her list like while I was doing it.
This is my only pre-order for October. It's described as genre defying. And like I was like trying to figure out what that meant. And it's like historical fantasy, apparently.
So down for that.
Yeah, I'm very
like
much
an
here
adult
for that.
fantasy historical element. I'm a sucker for historical fiction. Such a sucker.
Pumped.
That's so cool.
So basically the premise is it's set in 1714 France, and a woman, she's a young woman, and she like makes this bargain to live forever and is cursed to be forgotten by everyone she meets until someone remembers her. And like that's the premise of the story. And like I have a friend that has already got an advanced reader copy of it and said she was like, it was incredible. And so I'm very, very pumped.
So excited.
It comes out October 6th. So like you'll have some time to pre-order if you're listening to this on October 1st.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me, favorite from September.
This was hard because
you read a lot in September.
I read a lot. The last couple of months have been like pretty
good,
like a doozy of like a reading situation. And I've had some really good books. So it's funny. I originally was like definitely Freshwater, which is a difficult one to quote unquote favorite because it's such a difficult book. We read it, for everyone who's listening, we read it as our part of our little Bookstagram book club. And it's some very dark, heavy topics. I just love a quick A. Like I'm just obsessed.
Obsessed.
So that for the writing and for like the journey it took me on. But then I very much needed a reprieve from that. And I picked up The Grace Year, which I know you've also read.
Yep.
And I'm just realizing like dystopian novels are my adult fantasy.
Your jam.
And I'm super into it. It read very similarly to like Handmaid's Tale, in my opinion.
Did you ever read The Hunger Games?
I did, yes.
Okay, so the way everyone has described The Grace Year was like a Handmaid's Tale, Hunger Games hybrid. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I would say I felt more Handmaid's Tale only because I know people say Hunger Games because it felt like kind of action-packed.
Right.
I guess in my visual of Handmaid's Tale is now the Hulu series, and I feel like it did have those dark, eerie, kind of intense moments. And so for me, I just felt like Handmaid's Tale, but I totally understand the parallel. But I really liked it. I literally, I was like, oh, that was so necessary. Thank God.
I remember you texted me and you were like, I'm reading this in the parking lot.
I would order my groceries, pick them up, and normally you're waiting for maybe approximately 3 minutes, and I would be reading while I was waiting.
Yeah. I liked it when I was still giving books grades. I gave it an A-.
Yeah, I get that. There were parts of it that frustrated me that I was like, this doesn't feel as like, it felt like they were purposely shortened. So the book wasn't super long. Like I was like, there could have been more in like, I normally.
Well, and it sort of sets itself up for either a sequel or a prequel or both.
Right. 100%.
And like I had said this in my review, I was like, really like, I wish there was more world building. I wanted to know why the world was like set up the way that it was.
Totally that. And so I was reading some reviews, some negative reviews actually of it. And there were women that were really frustrated with the feminist stance and felt like the way that the author handled feminism kind of like flipped on it. Like it wasn't actually great for women. And it was funny for me to read those because I actually, and maybe it's just who I am, but I read those parts of the book with more hope. Like I was like, oh, like this is cool. Like this is, like you said, it's setting itself up for something. Yep. So like, but people were pretty upset about the way she handled like feminism generally in the book. But so it's interesting.
Right. There were definitely,
anyone reads it, go in
would
and
love to hear.
Yeah, would love to hear about it. And then I did read my pre-orders, Transcendent Kingdom and Anxious People. And I love Ya Jossie, which again, another fucking name I fucked up last time. I love her. I preferred Homegoing. Like if I had to choose between Transcendent Kingdom and Homegoing, I would choose
And it was
Homegoing.
because of the multiple perspectives? Is that
multiple perspectives? There was like a historical angle, which I'm a sucker for. And it was just kind of a really cool way to look at family lineage and trauma and like history. So I loved Homegoing. I thought the way she did that made her just like so impressive in my mind. I was like, how does an author even accomplish this? Like it's beyond.
I haven't read Homegoing, so I need
you have to read it. Transcendent Kingdom I thought was great. I still really
I also liked it.
She's a great writer, so it's like, how can you complain? And then Anxious People, Frederick Bachman is a love of mine. He always makes me cry. So this book is supposed to be funny. And it is. I was laughing out loud. It was very funny. But still at the fucking end, he made me cry, which like, love him.
Okay, so have you read Beartown? Have you read Beartown and the sequel?
I have.
And
they're not
like
as good.
them?
So I fell in love with Frederick Bachman when I read A Man Called Ovi.
And that's also a very polarizing book. Some people fucking hate that book.
Ovi?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I read it so long ago. I wonder how I would feel now. But I just think, so Bachman for me as an author, and he did it in Anxious People as well, he just has this incredible way of writing about humans and their connections to one another. And so like, even I didn't like adore Beartown, but I love hockey. So like, I kind of did enjoy that element of it.
You do?
Yeah. That was like the sport I grew up like, so I grew up in like San Jose.
You're from
area.
California. Oh.
Yeah, but we don't have like the San Jose, like we had a soccer team that like wasn't that amazing, but
that makes more sense.
The Sharks.
But it's such a weird thing to me because like it makes sense. Like I'm from the Midwest, like I'm very close to Canada, like the Detroit Red Wings, like all of like whenever I talk about hockey in front of Ben, he's like so confused because it's like clearly not a Southern sport.
100%. Yeah, no. But no, I think it's I just grew up going to the Sharks games, so I'm a huge hockey fan. Anyway, but even in that book, even in Beartown in the series, it's like he does shore up such interesting and deep like relationships with people, and like he's just very talented. And so I always love his writing. He always makes me cry, but in like the best way. And in Anxious
Did you
People,
cry reading Beartown?
I did not actually.
Okay.
He made me tear at one moment. Like I felt like
I read it a couple of years ago, and I thought it was such a slow start. I mean, I definitely got into it towards the end. I think when I was still reading books, I gave it a B+ because like it finally like sped up towards the end.
Yeah.
But like I did not care enough to read the second book. I just never read it.
It wasn't. I mean, I think I just read it because I like Bachman and I knew it was
you like him enough that like yeah,
it was going to be an easy read. But you would.
So, but do you think I'll like Anxious People?
You will, because it's funny.
Okay. Cool.
It's
cool.
Like I was laughing and I was like, oh shit, these fucking people. And it made me want to move to Sweden. And I was just like feeling.
Oh, it takes place in Sweden?
He's Swedish.
Right, I know. But this actual book takes place, this Anxious People takes place in Sweden? Because like,
so does Beartown, I think.
It did?
It does not take place in the US.
Oh, interesting. I don't remember that, but I believe you.
Anyway, so those were I read both of those. And then my pre-orders, which you're about to ask me, but
yes.
I'm going to interrupt you. Funny enough, also The Invisible Life.
Yep.
But then I ordered 2 more.
Okay.
One is called They Never Learn by
what is that about?
I could not describe it for you, so I pulled this quote.
Okay.
It's a feminist serial killer story, perfect for fans of Killing Eve and Chelsea Kane. I'm a huge Killing Eve fan. Love that show.
But okay, I'm going to need you to read and review this for me.
Yeah, so basically I know it could go either way, right? Like I was like, I have to know. But basically it's about these women that like, it's basically making abusers pay for the atrocities they commit against women. So these women kind of get like this redemption.
Vigilante justice.
Yes, exactly. And it follows a few characters of varying ages. So like we get like some variety.
I'm here for that.
The other one, that comes out October 13th. So I haven't received mine yet, obviously, but hopefully I'll review it soon. And then Leave the World Behind, which is a contemporary fiction. And I picked it up because I've heard really good things about this author. His name's Rumaan Alam. And
I haven't heard of him.
This is his third novel. And I've heard I don't remember what his other 2 novels are, but it's his third one. But this one basically is like this family goes and it's like in New York, but they go into like a vacation home for like a period of time. And then something happens and the family that's renting the home, I think, has to come back. And there's all this sorts of like drama, like there's some sort of, they don't know if like there's actually a disaster happening, which is why the family has to come back, or if it's like a sketch. So it's kind of thriller-y.
Interesting.
We'll see. It says, quote, suspenseful and provocative. This novel is keenly attuned to the complexities of parenthood, race, and class. Leave the World Behind explores how our closest bonds are reshaped and unexpected new ones are forged in moments of crisis.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of interesting.
And also, I love that at least these first 2, I mean, The Invisible Life is kind of on Bookstagram, but like I've never seen these on Bookstagram.
Yeah,
so like you and I are a sucker for that. So love that.
Love that. Yep. But that's it. Are we done? Is this our second episode?
Guys,
wrapping up.
Number 2. We're pretty pumped. We were both really excited to record. We were ready. We had a lot to talk about, obviously.
I know.
The link
Sorry,
of this episode will show you.
I know. My computer has 4% battery, literally.
I know. I just got the notification that my iPad is 10%. I was like, I hope we're dead.
I'm like, okay, bye, bitch. Gotta go.
But yeah, guys, we're really excited. And we're excited to bring you new content in November too. We do have a interview coming in November with the famous Carter Sickles of The Prettiest Star. We talked about that in August, but it is official.
It's happening.
It's happening.
We don't have it on the like I sent him 2 times. Like he's gonna do it, but like let's watch.
We're just
we come back.
excited.
We're like, sorry, he bailed on us.
We're just really excited. He's just so incredibly talented. And it's literally stayed.
Do we make him take the Enneagram?
He would kill me. He'd be like, "Are you?" What if he's already taken it though?
We can get him.
What
to
if he already knows?
Quickie free. Well, he might know. Like the quickie free version.
I mean, at least with astrology, you'd be able to, he has a birthday already. You'll be able to figure that out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kind of. pull his fucking chart. What time were you born and where?
Yeah. Oh,
Whoa.
true.
He's like, whoa, no,
Can
no,
you not
thanks.
ask me such personal questions?
Right.
Thanks. But guys, thank you so much for joining us on episode 2, and we'll talk to you soon.
We'll see you
Bye.
next time. Bye.